Welcome into Daily Insider. Stephanie Otey here, breaking down the NBA playoffs. Sad loss on my end for the Mavericks last night, but I do think they will get back on track. Someone else who is a little bit upset with the game last night to join me to break down NBA playoffs is Mike Randle from Betting Pros and 4for4 Football. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, Stephanie, very sad. Dwight Powell, we just needed a few more minutes. 14 was not enough. Expected to be a close game, but I agree. I think the Mavericks come back here. I don't think they're done. We've seen this with Phoenix. They're going to be around for a while here in this series.
Yeah, so they have the worst odds to win their conference championship right now. Warriors are minus 440. They are plus 340. Do you think that there's good value in taking the Mavs to win the whole series?
Yeah, I do, because Golden State concerned me against Memphis. They should have put Memphis away, no problem, without Ja Morant. I understand that they had a good record, the Grizzlies, without Ja Morant, but let's be real here. Having Morant on the court is a different story. They should have lost at home in game 4. Then game 5, they get their doors blown off. And in game 6, when they come back where they want to avoid a game 7 no matter what, they actually struggled against that Memphis team. So, yes, I expect Dallas to make adjustments. They were doing a lot of heavy trapping on Steph early. Klay Thompson got going late, but they were pretty good on him as well. Kevon Looney scored early, but then slowed down. I think Dallas hangs around. I think there is absolutely value here. People are knee-jerk reacting. Always want to do the opposite of the public, Stephanie, right? They're knee-jerk reacting. Golden State looked great. Oh, my goodness, no way. I think this is going to be at least a 6-game series here. So I think there's definite value in the Mavericks.
I like to hear that. I think even a lot of the pro handicappers are fading the Mavs right now, but I think that there's so much value in them. They did go into 7 games, but the way they toppled Phoenix, the number 1 seed, was impressive. So again, like we've seen the Mavs beat the Warriors 3 times out of 4 times this in the regular season. Granted, they didn't have their big 3 guys all in at once, but we saw them slow down Devin Booker and Chris Paul simultaneously. So I'm with you. I think that they can hold it out. And I did tweet out that got a lot of feedback, I will say, that I said Luka is taking over the NBA. I'm a big fan of Giannis, but Luka is taking it over. And a lot of people were like, hold up, overreaction, because I'm a Mavericks homer. But I love Giannis, big fan. But Luka, the way he's performing, I think he's up at that level of Giannis when you compare him to Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Guys, I think it's just a different category. Now he's up against an all-star cast who are veterans. He's a young guy, but are you with me? Do you think what Giannis has done, not taking away what he has done, I'm saying that the way Luka's pacing right now, he's going to be taking over the NBA.
Yeah, I think Giannis and Luka are at different levels. Devin Booker is not at that level. I know he finished 4th in the MVP voting, but he got trapped and basically was taken out of the game. Luka and Giannis not only can score and dominate, they also make their team better. Everything that they do, they are head and shoulders above everyone else, I think. And what's interesting, Steph, is they had that trade. Atlanta made the trade on draft night for Luka Doncic. They traded away Doncic rather for Trae Young.
The team during that time, yeah.
That should have been a decent trade because you got Trae Young, who's not in Doncic's class, but is pretty strong, good, solid all-star player. And they got a first-round pick. They just turned the first-round pick into Cam Reddish. That's the problem. But Doncic and Giannis, different level, head and shoulders above everyone else. They are elite scorers, and they're triple-double machines every night. I mean, Giannis with 20, 150. What does that even mean? And Doncic right now is doing all the rebounding inside for this team. I hit his prop a number of times against Phoenix with rebounds because he does what his team needs him to do, which is rebound right now. Not only score, but do everything.
I will say I was not happy that, I mean, they just kept shooting threes and they were missing. And between these two teams, there was a lot of threes going up. And the way that the Mavs were shooting just wasn't up to par. Do you think that's how they'll go into game 2?
Yeah, I think the other issue, too, which was a variable, is Maxi Kleber got in foul trouble very early. You know, Dwight Powell, he plays, like we said, 20 minutes or so. And I thought he could be pretty productive against Looney, but he wasn't. Maxi Kleber is the key because he can guard bigs on the opposite end and he can hit threes. And we saw against Phoenix in game 3, he was scalding hot. He got in foul trouble early, 2 fouls right away. He was a little bit passive. But when they're spacing the floor with him, Finney-Smith, Bullock, everyone, they are very, very dangerous, but they need those shooters and they need Kleber because they're not great on the bench. So they need him to come in and play a lot of minutes. If he gets limited, it's a definite problem.
Do you think you'll take Powell's overs again in game 2?
You know what? I'm going to take his over again when they're home. I'm going to wait for him to come home because what happens is they're overplaying with Looney, and Looney's getting a lot of easy buckets. I think that could happen with Powell, but I'm going to wait for him to get home. But I do like Dallas here to bounce back, and I'm looking for some props with those supplemental players. Dinwiddie was on fire. He's kept going. Jalen Brunson struggled early against Phoenix, but got going late. His prop was 19. I think it was 19.3 points per game was his over-under in this series. I took his under. He only had 14, but he could be the guy that gets going here in game 2.
Yeah, I'm nervous about game 2 just because they're still on the road. Once they get to game 3, I'm comfortable. And actually, when I think of their away games, I'm not too phased by that game 1. I think they'll get back on track. They did have less rest than the Warriors, which I kind of expected this. Now looking early ahead, their game 2, they're a 6.5-point underdog. I don't know if I'm ready to take them outright, but I definitely think I like them to cover at least on the road here. I think they're going to bounce back and keep this one tight.
Yeah, I don't think, Stephanie, they can trap like they did against Phoenix because Phoenix is too good of a passing team. Draymond Green doesn't have to score, but when Curry was getting aggressively doubled, he hit Draymond Green. Draymond Green then hit that third guy who was wide open. My suggestion is play them straight up, contain them. I know they're going to make shots, maybe hedge a little bit on Curry, but I would not double because they are a much better passing team than Phoenix is. So I think they have to sort of stay home, control the pace. Slowest pace team in the NBA this year. They have to play to their strengths in game 2.
Yeah, speaking of that pace, we were talking before we jumped on. Warriors looked tired in the first quarter. They clearly put up more points than the Mavericks, but when I look at a game 7, I definitely like the Mavs to win that one, just like they did against the Suns. They're younger, they're fresh, they can rally behind Luka. Thinking ahead here, would you take them on the road in a game 7?
Yeah, I would take the points for sure. Jason Kidd did not really have a great run as Bucks head coach, but he really has come alive here with his coaching staff, and I would trust him in a scheme in a game 7, winner take all, to have a situation where he could come up with something. Doncic cannot be stopped by Golden State. Those guards are too diminutive, and he can back them down every time. So as long as we get some hot shooting and some players who can make some shots from 3, grabbing the points in a game 7 with Luka Doncic will never be a bad idea.
All right, looking over to the East. Now, I wanted the Bucks to win. I keep wanting to fade Boston, and I need to admit that they're skilled here, but the Heat looked good on Tuesday night. Boston came out strong in the first half, but the way the Heat came in that third quarter was remarkable. Butler with 41 points. Looking at this series, the Heat I feel like they've been sneaky good because there's been so many teams in the East, but the Heat have been at the top of the pack. Both of these teams have, but I kept saying that the team that comes out of the Celtics and the Bucks series is going to win it all. Now I'm kind of changing gears here. I really like the way the Heat is looking. So what's your take on this series?
I love the Heat. I thought they were undervalued the whole year. I got them at 11-1 to win the title. Now down to probably about 5-1, I think, at most books.
Nice.
My issue with the Celtics is they really should not, Stephanie, have won the Bucks series because Chris Middleton got injured. The Celtics have been great. They've been tremendous. But if Middleton doesn't get injured, it's hard for me to think that they win a series in which it went 7 games even without him. The game slows down. Middleton is the key guy. You saw him make the shots in game 6 against Phoenix in the NBA Finals last year. So Udoka, who has been fantastic as the head coach, love their defense, but they are now missing Al Horford, who's not playing. Derek White is not going to play tonight for personal reasons. They are so short on the bench. Pritchard came in last night on fire a couple nights ago, had 18 points, was fantastic, but he got hunted on defense. The Heat went right at him. So missing Horford is like a Jenga puzzle with them. I don't like him being out. Marcus Smart's going to try to play tonight. He didn't even warm up last game. So I think they are very limited. Love what they've done, but I do like Miami. I like them coming into the series at plus 150 at most places, and I really like them now because the Celtics don't have a deep bench.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Horford is way too impactful. And looking at the line, Miami favored 3.5. Do you think the market's overreacting, or is Horford really, or all of the missing players for the Celtics, is it really that impactful? Like, where do you think the line would be otherwise?
Oftentimes when you lose a big scorer, people overreact too much. You saw that with Memphis. But when you lose a glue guy, an ancillary piece, I think the market underreacts. Horford is a problem. If he was in, I would expect this to be like 1 point. And I think the Celtics could have won the first game if he played. Why? They won 3 of the 4 quarters. They just got blitzed in quarter 3. So now you're going to have to play big minutes for Tatum, for Brown, for Smart, who's coming off of injury. Inside, Robert Williams, who is a lot better than I thought he was going to be, is also going to have to play because there is no one coming in off the bench. So it's at 3.5. Yes, I think the Celtics keep it close in the first half. Yes, they battle, but I think they fade in the second half like they did in game 1, and I'm laying the points here with Miami.
Yeah, so looking at the way that Butler stepped up, we spoke earlier on the show last week about how leadership is so important to keep this team humming. Like we saw how the Nets just crumbled. It was chaos all year round. They couldn't even win a single playoff game. So looking at the way the Heat have been run, they didn't have that leader really. They were, Butler in and out, but the way he stepped up last night or Tuesday night, I think that maybe they're captivating this series and taking over the East here. Like, do you see that happening here? Because when I look at all of the teams and the way they're run, the teams that have someone to look up to, like when you're in a spot, who do you look to give the ball, or even in the locker room, when they have that guy to turn to and things are just running well, I think it just changes how the team performs. Like we saw Philly not do so great. Ben Simmons leaves, and then the Nets aren't doing so great either. So just looking at the way the leadership comes into play and how Jimmy Butler stepped up, do you think that will be a key factor here with the Heat?
Yeah, I think what people realize and players realize when they go against the Celtics is the switching defense on the perimeter takes away 3-pointers. They are lethal on the perimeter. So the way to attack them is to drive the ball. Look what Giannis did. The Celtics basically said, look, Giannis, you can get your 200, 150. We're going to try to shut everybody else down. In the first half, Miami did not have anyone who was overly attacking the basket against them. Butler said, I'll just do it. I'll take over. The Celtics can't stop that. That's the one weakness. If you're going to switch everything and someone is really driving the ball, it makes that help and recover defense go in further, and collapse. They're taking away shots on the outside. Butler is attacking the basket. He does exactly, Stephanie, what you said, whatever the team needs. They need him to be a big-time scorer. He's almost 30 points per game here in the playoffs during this entire run. No Kyle Lowry. When Lowry comes back, I would expect to see his points go down a little bit more, but they can't stop him. And Butler's not an idiot. He saw what happened with Milwaukee. They let Giannis attack, and Butler said, that's what I'll do. And then they ended up turning the ball over because Miami has this great little press that they do when Oladipo comes in for about 3 or 4 minutes. That disrupts everything as well, and I think it wears the Celtics down. So you're right. He's a very underrated leader, and he's doing whatever his team needs him to do. Sometimes that's not scoring a lot. But in this series, against this defense, with the switching on the perimeter, he is driving and attacking the basket just like Giannis did, and you saw the results.
Yeah, and sometimes I get concerned with his consistency, but looking at his props, I think that you could easily take him with the over here. He's hit the over 26.5 points in 4 of his last 5 outings. I definitely like taking him over 26.5 points, averaging 29.8 points, 7.7 rebounds, 5.4 assists, 10 games while shooting 53 from the field. I think I like the over in his points. Would you take that one as well?
I would, because I don't think they're going to adjust enough to slow him down. I think they're going to have to adjust to try to contain him a little bit, but I could see his rebounds going up. I could see his assists going up. I could easily see him getting a triple-double tonight, no problem. He got to the line also, and they fouled. So tonight, with that limited bench and no Derek White, they can't get in foul trouble. That's the one thing they can't do. So I think they will help. They'll allow some shots, maybe for PJ Tucker to start get going from 3, and he's a fantastic 3-point shooter, 47% this year in the playoffs. But I just think Butler is going to get his tonight, and there's nothing they can do. It worked against the Bucks and Giannis. So why would tonight they overcommit and let Gabe Vincent and Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo and all these perimeter players get going? They'll try to help a little bit and slow him down a little bit more. Marcus Smart's back, obviously, but I just don't think it will be enough for him to go under.
Yeah, and looking at the total here, we have it on here, Sports Illustrated Sportsbook at 205.5. So that seems incredibly low for me. I always say, like, if it's around 208, I try to take the over. And if you looked at that first game, if aside from Boston's first half there, it could have hit that too. So looking at the total here, what's your side there?
I actually like the under here because I think Boston's only plan is to try to really slow this game down and increase variance. They don't have the personnel yet to get up and down, and they know Miami's going to throw this second quarter blitz trap at them. They're going to be concerned about the start of the third quarter. I don't think that they'll have such high shooting efficiency. Remember, they were up, I think, 47-34 in this game. So I like the under in this game. I think that Boston has to win it that way. And I also am worried about a little bit of a blowout risk. And you saw with Dallas and Golden State, when it gets to a blowout, sometimes the under comes in no problem because one team can't score. So I think Boston's only way to win tonight is to go slow through this game and to really slow the pace. Miami's second slowest pace in the NBA. I think they're begging you for that reason to try to get you to take the over. And I think the public will take the over, whereas they're looking at the numbers statistically. Boston needs a low-scoring game.
Oh, I might be a victim of that. I think I have to take the over. The number alone is just too striking for
It
me.
is.
But yeah, to your point, that is a way. But I also think that I think the Celtics will bounce back. I mean, they do have Tatum. Looking at his props tonight, which side do you like here? I mean, he's 28.5 points over under there. He's averaging 28 points per game during the playoffs. Normally, he follows up a bad performance with a strong one. So I do like the over on his points there. But you let me know. Where do you think his props are at?
I changed with the news that Derek White is out. I wanted his under, and his under on points, rebounds, and assists was 42.5, and he got it with a rebound with a minute left to go. He ended up going over at 43 exactly. So I was ready to hit the under. But with Derek White not playing, you could look at big minutes for Jason Tatum tonight. He may not come off the floor for any substantial period of time. So it's down to 40. I think the Celtics will keep this close enough that I'm going with the over. The only thing I'm worried about is blowout risk, right? Because when that happens, so Luka last time he was at 51.5 for his points, rebounds, assists, he went under. But the news of Derek White being out, I think amplifies the stars of Tatum and Brown. And I think Udoka's got to get them to play bigger minutes than most realized. So I'm actually with you. I like the over on the points, and I like the over on the points, rebounds, assists. His rebound prop also interesting, only 6.5. I got that at plus money. I hit that 2 days ago.
I saw that last night. That was nice. 8 rebounds
Yep.
for Tatum. Yeah.
Yep. And now it's minus 105. So it's still at minus 130 juice to the under, but I like that as well. I just think the usage for Tatum tonight is going to be through the roof.
Yeah, and I mean they're going to double team him. They're going to apply pressure, and he's passer friendly. So I would like the over on his assists as well. The one that I think is tricky is maybe his threes. Right now it's set at 3.5. I might even take the under because it's at like plus points because he only put up 2 and he shot 9 from beyond the arc. So when it comes to threes, is that worth a bet?
I don't think so. I did love Jason Tatum to lead the series in three-pointers made when we started just because of the volume. He was getting like 10, 11 threes per game against Milwaukee. And there really isn't anyone on Miami. I mean, Hero only plays between 25 and 30 minutes. So there isn't anyone I like on Miami who I think is going to get hot. So I don't want to go game by game. I have the series long bet, which I'm fine with, especially when he gets back to Boston. I think he'll cook. But yeah, I would stay away from that. I don't like the juice on that one. I like his usage. I like the rebound at minus 105 a lot better. And like you said, the points as well, because they need him to score.
Yeah, digging deeper into some props. Do you have any with plus points tonight? Any
Yeah,
guys you like?
my favorite one is PJ Tucker. You have to think, Stephanie, when you look at the adjustments, what are they going to do? Well, the Celtics certainly have to help a little bit off the perimeter players. They can't let Butler go for 40 again. I don't think they'll be able to shut him down so he goes below his prop. But who are they going to help off of? Bam Adebayo only had 4 field goal attempts in 37 minutes. So my 2 plays tonight, one, I like PJ Tucker over 1.5 3-pointers at plus 185 on DK. He's shooting 47% from three-point range at home. He's the best three-point shooter on the team. He didn't get a lot of attempts in the last game, but he did manage one, and they need him to stay on the floor. He's playing well over 30 minutes because he's got to defend Tatum and Brown. So that is my first one with plus money. And the other one that's correlated to it is if we think they're going to limit Butler a little bit, I am not going to go with Bam Adebayo. I'm going to take Bam Adebayo under on his prop, 27.5 points, rebounds, assists, minus 113. It's actually on Parks. He has not hit this in 3 straight and 4 of 5. And those 4 field goal attempts bother me. Robert Williams may be the best defender on Boston. Even though Marcus Smart was Defensive Player of the Year, Robert Williams may be the best defender. So if I project how the game's going to go, I think they're going to try to limit Butler. I think there's going to be ancillary opportunities there. The best one for plus money for me is PJ Tucker over 1.5 threes plus 185.
Yeah, and Marcus Smart, he is listed as probable. Are you taking any props with him? Any over unders there?
Yeah, my concern with Smart is he is not a player who comes back and does a lot if he's not making 3-pointers. So I think I got this morning at 22.5. I think I got 22.5 points, rebounds, assists for Smart. Marcus Smart, in order to hit that number in the first series there against Milwaukee last time, he ended up scoring 47% of his points from 3-point range. Problem is, Miami has the second best 3-point defense in the league. So coming off of injury, I expect him not to play a full load. He's going to be probable, but I doubt he gets to the 35, 36 minutes that he normally sees. He's going to have a huge assignment here at trying to slow down Butler and try to slow down this Miami attack. I like the under here on 22.5 points. If you look at the last series against Milwaukee, he has to hit threes in order to do this or have very high assist numbers. Both things just don't happen there. I'm going to go under on this total, which he's actually been under if you look at his averages this year in the 3 regular season games against the Heat.
When you're looking at props for players that are coming off of injury, how do you go about that? I try to usually stay away from it depending on the injury, but I don't know. I think it's hard to determine how they'll be, but then again, you could probably get better value as well.
You do. I stay away from the ones that are the main scorers on the team. Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler come back from injury. Their usage is still going to be high. But Marcus Smart is a guy who on offense, they don't need him to be fantastic. Robert Williams had a great game, had the most points he had since December 22nd, Robert Williams. Tatum and Brown are dominating the usage on that team. Smart is basically driving kick guy. And I think tonight, the main assignment from a guy who did not warm up last game, couldn't even warm up. I don't think he's going to come out scalding hot from 3-point range against maybe the best 3-point defensive team in the entire league. I think he's going to look for the garbage points, and I don't think there's enough garbage there for him to get to 23.
Yeah, speaking of Williams, he's played almost 35 minutes in that game one. Should have a similar load with Horford still out. Taking a look at his props, played good minutes when he gets that opportunity. You see him put up some big steals and blocks. So looking at his props there, what do you like here?
I usually fade the big game, and you're dealing with a player who scored 18 points, most points since December 22nd. I'm going to take the under on his point total tonight. I think it's hovering around 10. I got his points, rebounds, assists under 19.5, minus 115 on DK. I'm going to usually fade that big game. I think Adebayo's got to be challenged tonight to try to limit that, which goes back to how do you think the game's going to go? If Robert Williams is not going to have a big performance, solid performance, but not a huge performance, then that's more shots for Tatum and more shots for Jaylen Brown, who is really the player I think gets going for Boston tonight to keep this close, at least well into the second half before Miami may pull away.
So I don't know if you're a parlay guy, but if you had to parlay any of these props, we'll say a 3-leg parlay. Which ones would you take?
I would definitely take Bam under 27.5 points, rebounds, assists. You want to get some juice in there. Add the Tucker bet at 1.5 at plus 185 because you'll get a great number. And the other one is I'm all over Jaylen Brown tonight. He finished the game really strong and he was hot. 33.5 points, rebounds, assists, minus 115 on BetMGM. If I could put those three together, I love the Bam under. We need to get lucky with Tucker hitting a couple threes, but that gives us the good odds to boost the parlay. And I think Jaylen Brown's usage is through the roof tonight. He came on hot. He had 10 rebounds, I think, in this game. He's going to be all over the court tonight. Those are the three I'd pick.
Do you know the odds on that?
I don't.
That'd be killer. Yeah.
Killer. The plus 185 is the key. Yep.
Yeah. So looking at that, do you have a series winner here between the Celtics and the Heat?
It's the Heat for me. I got them at plus 155 to start. They are the deeper team. I don't think they lose tonight. I think it's a lower scoring game. I think they keep it close, but I do think the Heat pull away. And remember, they're doing this without Kyle Lowry. The Celtics need to get Horford back. He's got to play a big role. And this is not a Celtics team that is at the same level as Miami. They're just not. Miami is deeper, has a better bench. Duncan Robinson, Stephanie, has started 68 games this year, is rarely playing, but he could step up and easily hit 5 threes or 8 threes, as we saw in the first series, the opening series that they had in round one. So I like Miami very much. Celtics are going to be here for a while. Really impressive. Great coaching job by Udoka, but they're a Jenga puzzle. Smart, hobbled tonight. Horford still not playing. Derek White out for personal reasons. Too much for me. I'll take the Heat in this series.
Before going into the playoffs at the start when they were all seeded, what did you have? I had Sixers and the Suns. So I am I am completely out. I really liked Embiid this season, especially for MVP, but it just came crumbling down. So has your projections changed?
I had the Heat and Golden State, and I'm sticking with
Nice,
it. Yeah, I had the
nice.
Heat. I liked Miami. I grabbed that future ticket right away. Golden State was getting hot. They had all the players back. I love Ja Morant. Big Ja Morant fan. I love them over Zion Williamson to be picked number 1 in the NBA draft, but I just don't think they're there yet. So in the West, to me, it was either Phoenix or Golden State. I like Golden State. In the East, it was either Milwaukee or Miami. And I liked Miami just because of the odds. I thought they were getting disrespected, and they have some history there between those teams. So Middleton goes out. I get lucky on that one, but I had Miami and Golden State, and I'm staying with it.
Dang. I mean, I really want to see Heat and Mavs, but
Yeah. Well, of course.
I'm gonna need a little bit of luck there. But would it change if Horford comes back in
Yeah,
or
it'll
when he does?
change at home. But remember, Horford was great against Milwaukee. And then in those middle 2 games, and then game 6 and game 7, he kind of took a back seat. So it wouldn't change for me because Lowry's coming back also for Miami. So I think it makes the series more compelling. I think it lengthens it. But I love Miami to start the series, and I am not backing off it.
Yeah, if you had to set the line, if it were to be the Warriors and the Heat, where do you think the line would be?
Oh, it'll be with Golden State. Yeah, it'll be Golden State because they have the championship pedigree. They have the 3 titles in
Mhm.
4 years. They look healthy right now. But I just have seen historically with teams that they don't play together all year. It's very hard to just come back all of a sudden and have that same chemistry. They look good in game 1. They certainly did. But Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, they need Iguodala back. Gary Payton needs to be back on defense. They had a good game 1, but those 3 games in a row against the Grizzlies were very concerning. That is not a championship caliber team when you're letting Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane and Dylan Brooks, my goodness, extend the series on you where you needed rest. You certainly needed rest. So concerns there for Golden State. They would be the favorite, but I would probably take the Heat yet again.
Do you think there's an overreaction with the Warriors here with their experience, or even in Vegas when they're setting the lines? Do you think that there's too much thought on their experience, all the championships they have? I mean, like we talked about, I felt like they looked like they were run down in the first quarter on that in game 1 against the Mavs. I mean, they held out, but I mean, you got to have endurance to get through the entire playoffs.
Yeah, the experience is overrated because they haven't played together much this year. Coming into the playoffs, they play 20 minutes, something like that before the end of the year. Clay was out, of course. Draymond then got hurt middle of the year, and then Curry got hurt with the Marcus Smart sort of collision there at the end of the year. That's my concern is this is not a team that has been playing together all season. They are tired. They're a little disjointed. They found a way to gut through and to get through some games here. But yes, I think it's overrated because they haven't played that much together. So at some point we could see a wall here for one of them. And that's something they can't take when they're already missing guys on their bench.
Yeah, I know you like Warriors, but you did give a little bit of juice to my Mavs. So looking at that series, give us Mavs fans something to feel good about. Is there
I think
any
the Mavs,
upside here?
everything, Stephanie, for your Mavs fans is game 4. I think no matter what happens in game 2, I think Dallas comes out on fire and wins game 3. Game 4 is the game. If you want to make this a 7-game series, you have to win game 4. So if you lose game 2, doesn't bother me at all. I expect a big performance in game 3. And then I'm looking forward to a line in game 4, something like Warriors -1, something like that. That's the game. That's the one you have to show up.
I'm
And you
seeing
did
what
against
day that is because I'm about to book a flight out for that.
But the thing is, they did it. They did it against Phoenix. They took that
No.
game 4 at home. Was that the game Paul fouled out? I think maybe that's the game you have to have. So that's the one I'm pointing
Yeah,
to.
he was.
Hope Luka's shoulder's okay too.
Yeah, that too. But it wasn't like Chris Paul once they get out. Oh, I had an injury the whole time, but no comment. No comment
Yeah.
there. What do you make of that? Do you think there was any legitimacy?
Yeah, I feel badly for Chris Paul. He's getting
I do
crushed
too.
here. He's a great point guard. He really is. And yeah, he's not fantastic as a defender, but he's been so clutch for them. You saw against the New Orleans series. Maybe he was hurt. I took his under, so I was happy in game 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't talk about injuries. That's the code with athletes. So he's not going to mention it, but something was up.
I heard this on Part of My Take, which just made me laugh. They're like, they wanted to give a compliment to Chris Paul, and they said he's like the president of the "You're Good" club. Like you're really good. And that's where that's kind of where it ends, like I feel bad, but he doesn't have a championship. And looking over to Devin Booker, what do you think his future holds?
Booker is interesting because Booker now has been exposed like the emperor's clothes to not be the MVP level candidate that everyone thinks he is. Chris Paul's going to be fine. Charles Barkley doesn't have a ring either, and he's doing fantastic. But Booker is a concern because this Phoenix team is one step away from blowing the whole thing up. Chris Paul's 37. DeAndre Ayton now wants a big contract. There was a rumor Ayton didn't want to check into the game in game 7 because he's like, I'm done. I'm just worried about my contract. You can't do that. So, yeah, I'm really concerned about Booker. I think we may have seen the career peak for Devin Booker, finishing 4th in the MVP voting. That may not be the case anymore because he was exposed, can't get through double teams. He's not great in defense.
Yeah, and looking at the remaining teams, the Suns were a team, they made it to the finals, but the way that closed out for them, I mean, Giannis got hurt and dropped 50 points. And then you see the way Luka comes in after injury in that first round. So looking at the teams left, I thought the Suns were going to be a team that would choke, certainly. But looking at the remaining teams, Warriors, they got the experience. I don't think it's going to be them. I don't even think it's going to be the Celtics, but they could probably start to underperform here and there, especially with guys out. I don't want to say the Mavs because that's my team, and I think they rise to the occasion. I think Game 7 is probably their best performance every time they get there. So I like them getting to a Game 7 because I think that they could play lights out. But looking at the remaining teams, who do you think would be the most likely to choke?
If I had to look for a choke candidate, I just am concerned with Boston and the injuries. And Tatum had that horrific game against the Bucks, and he's been scalding hot. He has another one of those. It's going to be a problem. So even if Boston finds a way to win tonight, I like Spoelstra. I like his pedigree as well. I think they have advantages in experience. Gabe Vincent, these players coming off the bench, Victor Oladipo coming off as your 8th man is a huge advantage. The way the matchups work, I don't see Golden State choking. Dallas in a Game 7 is a lock. They're going to play well no matter what, whether they win or lose. Boston would be the team that if they somehow won the next couple games and they were up 2-1, I still would like Miami in that series just because of the inexperience.
Yeah, I kept saying that when they were up against the Nets. Like, they would win a game. I'm like, all right, Nets are going to bounce back once they get to Brooklyn. And I just got schooled. So I have a bias against betting against the Celtics. I genuinely, like, my gut says it's the Heat, but my recency bias of trying to fade the Heat has told me otherwise. But I do think Middleton going out had a huge factor in them moving forward and playing the Heat. But looking forward again to a finals run, who would be your MVP favorite there?
MVP favorite, I loved it, and I bet it at plus 600 before the conference final started, is Jimmy Butler. And my reason is there's no way Miami wins, and it's not Jimmy Butler. And Miami is a number 1 seed. They came into the playoffs completely solid across the board with a great coach. You know Luka would win it for Dallas. I get that, but I put their chances below Miami. So I love Jimmy Butler plus 600. I took it right away, and I would take him again because in Golden State, remember, Steph Curry has never won an NBA Finals MVP. So that's sort of a wide open.
I love that stat.
It's a wide open thing over there. But with Miami, it's going to be Jimmy Buckets.
So, yeah, looking at the 4 teams, it's Tatum, Butler, Curry, Luka. Anyone outside of that would be worth the money.
It's funny. We think back to Iguodala, right? When he won it for a Golden State. There wouldn't be anyone for me. Miami's got to go through Butler. If you want to look at Golden State, I mean, I guess you could go Klay Thompson, but he is very up and down. If Golden State gets there because Curry has never won it, I think it'll become a thing. I just don't see anyone else on Golden State. Like Iguodala's not playing enough. Gary Payton has a fractured elbow. So to me, it would be Curry. There isn't a sleeper there, but I'm hoping it's Miami because plus 600 was ludicrous.
Yes, that was a good call. Usually when I am looking at those futures, taking an MVP is much better odds because you're also diluting to which teams get there and then selecting the players. So I always like to take MVP over, like I did with Joe Burrow MVP. They obviously didn't win, but the odds were far better than just taking the Bengals. But closing it out here, what's your lock for tonight?
Lock for tonight is Bam under 27.5. I do not like, I mean, think of it this way. He had 4 field goal attempts in 37 minutes. So is tonight the game plan going to be to feed Bam? They didn't feed Bam against Robert Williams when he was coming off of injury, and it was very much an unknown. Tonight, is he going to get fed? I don't think so. Sure, could he get 14 and 8? Absolutely. But I just don't see him getting that 16, 17, 18 points that he would need to get over this. He was averaging 5.7 assists against Boston in the regular season, only one. I don't see it happening. I take Bam under tonight, 27.5. That line is where it is because it's gone on his averages and what they expect. But the game plan clearly was use Bam as a screener, take him out of the picture, and let the Miami players attack off the dribble. And I don't think that changes tonight.
I like it. I'm with you on everything. My heart is pushing for the Mavs a little bit more. So I also like to buffer by saying it's a value pick. It's a value pick. So usually that'll help build a little bit more credibility. But my heart does say I want the Mavs. Thank you so much for joining me. I love every side that you took here tonight. And let us know where we can find more of your work.
On Twitter at Randle Rant, 4for4 Football, and Betting Pros, of course, doing some great stuff. We will sleep when this is over and get ready for the NFL season.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Counting down the days right when NBA Finals is over. It's just that stretch to get to football. So do you like college football as well or just NFL?
I do like college football. Trying to work that in. I got the NBA draft coming up, so we got some good props there. Jabari Smith, I got a plus 100. He's already down to minus 105, minus 110. But college football, I got to work into the rotation as well. But it's fantasy season. It's best ball season as well. So much going on.
Mm-hmm. So wait, who's your college football team?
College football team. It's funny. I grew up.
That's always a great way to start it out. It's funny.
I went up to Boston College, and when I was there, they were actually very, very good.
You guys got our defensive coordinator, so Coach Hafley's great.
And it's cold up there, and they have to have a certain style. So BC is my team, but I really like watching SEC. SEC basketball and SEC football is just so exciting. It's a different level. You got Nick Saban out there now telling Texas A&M is buying players. I mean, what's better than that? A little drama for college football.
Yeah, I mean, the way the recruiting scales are so interesting, and I've many times I've heard coaches feeding into the media. Like they always say, we don't pay attention to it, but I've heard many times when a coach will tell the team, "Do you see what they're saying out there? They're doubting you." Like they'll just make up a story just to juice up the guys. So I love the college football talk. There's nothing better. But who's your NFL team?
Oh, NFL team. I grew up as a Cowboys fan.
Same. I grew up Cowboys, but now I'm in the business. I kind of just take players I've covered or storylines I like.
I do like Stephanie. They're over this year though, because they have a pretty high-powered offense, and if that defense improves a little bit more, I do like they're over this year with the Cowboys. I'm trying to get roped back in. I don't want to do that. I want to stay objective, but I'm hitting the over on them.
Okay, so the regular season. Okay, I could bet on that. Their playoff runs. Do you even call them a run? Like, yeah. So if they were to get to the playoffs, so how do you go about that? Do you like them?
They need the defense to step up and control because Dak Prescott likes to spread the ball around. I do like CeeDee Lamb this year, but in the playoffs, it's fade until proven otherwise. I don't think Mike McCarthy's an awful coach, but he has continued this questionable moves in the playoffs that they have just struggled with here. They got to get tougher, and they got to continue to run the ball, work in Tolly Pollard a little bit more too, so Zeke can get a break.
The tricky thing with the Cowboys, and it's why I've kind of become more broader in my fandom in the NFL. It's the one team where you see the owner in the locker room also addressing media after games. Like that, that's real. That puts a coach in a really tough spot. And McCarthy is a player's coach. Like he will defend his guys. But I mean, that's a tricky spot. Like let coach be coach, and his involvement. I do think it's tricky, and he also has certain loyalties too, where he could be blinded by, things going on with a player, whether on or off the field, but his loyalty is true. So you got to love that. But when it comes to winning, not always the case. So that's a very unique situation for Dallas. When I look at the futures for NFL, do you have a pick to win the AFC or NFC? AFC is pretty tough. It's like the Eastern Conference champion or Eastern Conference in the NBA, basically. It's loaded. But looking at each conference there in the NFL, who do you like?
If you look at the AFC West, I love Denver. I mean, Russell Wilson can finally be unleashed. He's got a better offensive line. He's got great weapons. The Jerry Jeudy stuff off the field now is a little bit of a concern. But they got Alberto. They got two solid running backs. Gordon's back, and a better defense than he's had in a long, long time. to me, I love Denver. Kansas City now is going in the wrong direction. They're in
Agree.
a tough league. I heard a tough division. I heard the other day people like the Raiders as possibly a long shot to win the division. So I like pick your favorite team in the AFC West and go with it. That's what I'm going with. I like
You
that.
haven't mentioned the two that I really like in the AFC. Can you guess who they are?
In the AFC.
It's the other two that are like
Buffalo.
great quarterbacks, yes. Great young quarterbacks.
So Buffalo, and who's
Come
the other
on,
one?
come on. I mentioned him already.
And Chargers.
No. No. Think again. Literally, he's about to be the GOAT of quarterbacks once Brady's out. He's a prodigy.
A prodigy quarterback in the AFC.
How have you not said it yet? How have you not said it yet?
Go for it. Who is it?
Joe Burrow.
Oh, with Joe, but they were there last year, and they were there. Listen, I think you had a magic run last year with the Bengals.
You know what? Because I always say it because I covered Ohio State and Joe Burrow was a backup quarterback there. But I love Justin Fields too. Just get him a better team. Joe Burrow didn't go to the best team either. I mean, he got sacked 51 times last year. I mean, he had the worst O-line. Goes to the Super Bowl. The only way you do that is by like magic. And whenever I talk about Burrow, everyone knows how great he is. Everyone loves him. But I always like explain him as he's magical. Like he is that. There's something about him that can make something happen. Justin Fields, I love. I'll defend him all day long. But Joe Burrow has that XX factor.
Well, you talked about value before. The Bengals back-to-back to the Super Bowl would be value. That's a value bet.
That's the only reason why it's tricky.
Yep.
Like getting back there could be tough.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw what happened with Mahomes.
Yep.
So, but Mahomes is an easy fade for me. I'm with you. I'm not taking the Chiefs. I don't want them to surprise me. But looking at the NFC, the only thing I can think of is okay, Brady's in the NFC. I'll just take the Bucks,
I would fade off the Bucks. At some point, Brady with that age, it's creeping up. It's not something that's sustainable. Godwin's coming off the injury, of course. Rams look really, really solid, but the question is, can they repeat? Sure. I mean, they can. Allen Robinson thinks he's going to have a great year for them. Very underrated because of Cooper Kupp being there. I'm still holding out hope for my Vikings. I just feel like at some point they're going to get it together. Green Bay is going in the wrong direction as well. I'm telling you, the Cowboys have a path here to be a legitimate contender in the NFC.
I like it. I just don't know if I can bet it. Like I can root for the Cowboys all day, but betting them gets tough.
Faint of heart. Yep.
Yes, but if I have to take the Rams, then I'd have to be confident in taking the Bengals to go back. But have we ever seen the two teams face off back-to-back years in the Super Bowl?
No, right. It wouldn't. My thing with the Rams is that they're so solid defensively with Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. They have some big-time pieces. And listen, I think the Bengals are going to be very, very good, but that is a tough division. I expect Baltimore to be a lot better. They went through a ton of injuries as well. It just seems like their path's a lot harder than the Rams.
Yeah, so on Great Day Nation, we just talked about the games we're most excited to see now that schedules are released. I chose Week 17, Bills and Bengals in Cincinnati. Josh Allen won that first matchup in Buffalo. He hasn't played Joe Burrow yet. They played with Andy Dalton. So that's the game I like to see. It is very far out, so things could go wrong. God forbid injuries. But right now, if they played tomorrow, who would you pick to win that game?
Between Bills and Bengals?
Yeah.
I would take the Bills, and I like the Bills on opening night at Los Angeles as well. That Bills team, they should have beat Kansas City. They know they mismanaged it at the end of the game. I like that Bills team a lot. Bengals are going to be real solid. I think you'll be fine, but the Bills to me are also very, very good, and I expect them to – I'm getting points in week 1 with the Bills. I'll take it in a second.
Are you taking their game totals, Buffalo or Cincinnati?
The Bengals I am not, because I love the Ravens, and I really love the Steelers, because I don't think Mitch Trubisky, even if Pickett doesn't start, is a huge downgrade for them. Their defense is going to be solid, and maybe Trubisky with his mobility be better than Roethlisberger with no arm standing in the pocket. So I'm staying away from the Bengals because I like the Ravens and the Steelers over. I
do like the Ravens. I mean, I think they're downplayed because they're getting so many guys back. So I'm excited to see the Ravens. Very excited for NFL. I was about to sign off, and then we just got on a roll with NFL. I'm already getting pumped for season. But thank you so much for joining me. I love your NBA picks. I'm siding with you on all of them, putting a little bit more love on the Mavs. But we will definitely have you back on, and we will check back in to see if it's Warriors and Heat. That'd be great for you.
Awesome, Stephanie. Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks again, guys. Kevin will be back on tomorrow for Friday, and I will see you next time right here at Vegas Insider. Make sure you check out the latest Great Dane Nation. We had head coach of the Michigan State basketball team, legendary Tom Izzo, on. Lots of fun talking to him. But until next time, we will see you right here at Daily Insider. Make sure you guys check the subscribe button on the YouTube page at Vegas Insider, and we'll see you next time.